I'm Sara Bronin, the chair of the U.S. Advisory Council on Historic Preservation, and I'm beaming into you today from Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. It's one of the most magnificent parks in the park system that's owned by all of us, but stewarded by the National Park Service, a part of the Department of Interior. The National Park Service owns a tremendous number of historic buildings and stewards a tremendous amount of cultural resources. Behind me are a handful of the buildings that the National Park Service owns and operates, and they're called collectively Mormon Row. Built in the late 19th century and early 20th century, they tell the story of European American expansion. They also illustrate the role of Mormons in developing irrigation techniques, including ditches that run all around this area. You can imagine sitting here in this landscape the kinds of challenges they might have faced. And over the past century, these buildings have faced challenges too. Whether it's winter weather, extreme wind and sun, ground squirrels, bats, you name it, these buildings have seen it. They were in a state of disrepair for many years, but fortunately they are being rehabilitated right now thanks to a public-private partnership with the Grand Teton Park Foundation. Through that partnership, new plans are being made for the maintenance and repair of these sites, and a long-term strategy is being put into place to help interpret them for visitors. Because these buildings were historic, they underwent a process that many federal agencies undergo pursuant to the National Historic Preservation Act and called Section 106. Section 106 requires federal agencies to take the impacts of their undertakings into account before doing anything that could adversely affect historic properties. Here, the National Park Service's efforts to rehabilitate these buildings was fast-tracked through a programmatic alternative that the Advisory Council signed with the National Park Service back in 2008. That made it more efficient for the Park Service to develop and implement these rehabilitation plans. Today, we're working with the National Park Service again on a program comment that will help it effectively steward the historic resources collectively known as Mission 66 resources under its care. These resources, which were built or created between 1945 and 1972, represent about 20,000 resources across the park system. The highest number of Mission 66 resources is right here at Grand Teton. Because the Park Service has so many Mission 66 resources, they need a way to make sure that when they are spending money, including increased money that they're getting through infrastructure and other bills, they are doing it in a way that protects historic resources but enables those projects to actually happen. That's what we're hoping the program comment can do. Across the park system, there are rehabilitation projects planned or underway for resources as diverse as visitor centers, hotels, restaurants, and even housing. And I'll just point out that right here in this area around Grand Teton National Park, Jackson Hole, the richest county in the country is where we are. Even workers at the National Park Service need new housing. That's why it's really important for us to get in place this program comment. Just down the street, you see a historic home, the Perry home, that has been taken off of its foundation, is being poured a new foundation, and will be converted to 4 units of housing for Park Service staff. Without more housing within the system itself, it's really difficult for parks in high land value areas like Grand Teton National Park to house workers. So whether it's through the program alternative that was used to restore this site or through the program comment that we hope is coming soon, the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation looks forward to being a long-term partner of the National Park Service with our shared stewardship mission across both entities. Thank you so much for joining me for another Preservation Short. Please follow the Advisory Council on social media to keep track of everything we're doing.